Hello, my friends. I am Minister Rob. Hope you guys are having a great evening or afternoon or morning or whenever you're watching this. I hope you're doing really well. You know, I've had something on my heart and my mind, and honestly, I'm absolutely exhausted from it. And I wanted to share with you just a revelation that God has given me, just a direction and a drive, and something new that's happening. And hopefully you guys will come along with me and decide that this sounds like a good plan. But I've been watching a lot of news and seeing stuff on Facebook and other social media. I'm very involved in social media due to what I do. I have a couple YouTube channels, and so that's how I connect. And I've been seeing a lot of just hateful stuff, mostly from the media, mostly from the news, but it's reposted and people will say comments and call each other idiots, and just this ridiculous hate towards another person. It's fine to disagree on stuff and to be passionate about it, and that's cool. And I've seen people have passionate debates and still, go hang out together and they get along fine otherwise. But this has gotten ridiculous, with people destroying property and doing other things and hurting other people because they don't agree with their political views. And I've said this before, this is not a political channel, but I'm calling out both sides. If you've been hateful towards someone because of what they believe, I'm sorry, I'm calling it ridiculous. I personally refuse to hate, and I've seen this. I've seen people say I refuse to hate, especially on Facebook a lot. I've seen that statement, I refuse to hate. Okay. And then later on, not too much longer, they post something that's hateful towards another group of people, generally political. But, well, if you're going to refuse to hate, let's follow through. Let's go for it. Let's understand what that really means. So for me, I'm telling you right now, I refuse to hate. I may disagree with certain things. I may have different political views than you, and that's okay. But I'd rather focus on the fact that we all have to wake up in the morning. We all need to breathe. We all need to eat. We all need to do these things to get through this crazy thing we call life. And hate is just a waste of time for me. It's such an ugly, ugly emotion. And again, it doesn't mean that we can't have a conversation about politics. And again, not on this channel, but, one-on-one, if I meet you and we just have a conversation, and I do want to understand both sides. But when it gets to the point where we start calling each other names and start being hateful to each other, and especially when it comes to the physical stuff, I'm saying I'm done. I'm tired, I'm exhausted, I'm not doing it anymore. And really when I'm talking about not hating, I'm talking about not hating someone because they're different from me. Whether it's religion or, maybe lack thereof, or race or political views. And I get very passionate about what I believe, I'll be honest. I really do. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you, you're a moron because we don't have the same views. I'd rather honestly have a conversation with someone about why they feel the way they do. And yes, I'm going to be passionate about certain things same way you do, or you are. And there's a reason I don't do political stuff, because it gets nuts, it gets crazy. But for me, I've made that decision. I am not going to hate another human being. Doesn't mean I won't get angry at him, but I'm certainly not going to dwell on it. And I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I stick to that. And it's really hard, especially when it comes to, terrorists and murderers and all that stuff. But I'd rather focus on what, I hate the action, I hate what they do, and yes, I want to see justice done, and I want to make sure that everybody else is safe and all that stuff. But hate tears you up, And please understand, if you're going through something and you're like, but you don't understand, I had an abusive father, abusive mother, I had this horrible things happen to me when I was younger. I get it. I do. I worked in recovery for 8 years. Was part of it, both as someone who needed help and someone who helped others for a very long time. I understand. But it's really for you. Because if someone's repentant, then you can help change their life. If they're not repentant, then it's only hurting yourself. Because it tears you up inside. You know, the other thing I want to talk about is, there is, you know, when I created this faith-based channel, I started kind of looking at a lot of the channels that I like, a lot of worship music, a lot of, you know, different pastors that kind of popped up. I actually didn't, I didn't ask for them, but Google said, hey, this is a faith-based channel, or, you know, he's got other pastors on here, he has other music, he probably likes this, you know, and he gets this whole list. You know how Google works. But I started seeing stuff that was, you know, Osteen is a false prophet, and Paul Washer is a false prophet, and this person's a false, and false, and false, and false, and Hillsong aren't really Christians. Make some of the most beautiful music, I'll tell you that much. But, and all these things that just popped up on my channel, and it's like, wait a minute. Who are we to start judging other people? Especially people that are supposed to be our brothers and sisters. You know, if they're stumbling, if they're making mistakes, you know, we need to pray for them. If Osteen is really wrong, you know, and he's got, you know, maybe he's got some struggles or some whatever, and you see this, pray for him. Don't go on social media and start tearing him apart. How would you feel if that happened to you? I mean, honestly, you know, let me tell you why I'm passionate about this. Before I ever became a Christian, I was in high school. All the way through high school, I wasn't a believer. It's a few years after. But I used to listen to this heavy music. Metal. I love metal. I still do. I love the passion and the angst and all that stuff. I love all kinds of music. But that's my go-to, especially when I'm working out or doing whatever, you know. And I had a friend who was into it as well, and he discovered this one band, and I won't say their name, but we'll just say they look like, we used to call them headbanging bumblebees. But they were cool, man. You know, they had the long hair and the earrings and the, you know, this was back in the 80s. I'm dating myself a bit, but, and I remember thinking how cool they were and just really liking this band. I didn't become a Christian right away, but it helped me. I used to have suicidal thoughts. This helped me not have suicidal thoughts, because I'd hear their lyrics and I'm like, oh, hope. I like this hope thing. I don't know if I believe in God at the time. You know, I wasn't sure. I was, I guess, more agnostic, so I was kind of poking. But, man, what a positive message. Maybe there's more to this. So I hung on. I didn't end my life as I had planned. And, you know, all of a sudden I'm walking around. This is before the internet was super huge. You know, before YouTube and Facebook and all that stuff. And I'm, you know, walking around and I'm hearing other Christians just tear them apart. And this was a Christian band. And, you know, there's, oh, they're not really Christians. You know, I saw them with a beer. I saw this. I saw that. And they're rocking and they're playing this heavy music. And they call themselves Christians. And I hate that phrase. And they call themselves Christians. Who are we to say they're not? I don't know. I mean, yeah, we do need to be careful. But, you know, so that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I got so confused. I hadn't made a decision yet. And I was thinking, I don't know if I want to become a Christian, because this is what they do to their own people. So we got to be very, very careful what we post. We got to be very, very careful what videos we put out there. You know, because honestly, when someone's looking for something different, they're looking because generally they're hurting and they're interested in you know, changing their lives, even whether they know it or not. And we need to be those examples. And don't tell me about false prophets, and don't tell me about all that stuff. You know, if God really called you and you can really sense false prophets and stuff, pray for them. If they're really wrong, pray for them. Don't assume the worst. And that's my rant on that. So, if that bothers you, maybe you need to pray about it. Maybe you need to pray for me. I could use prayer. I could always use prayer. I'm not sitting here as a perfect individual. I'm saying I'm not going to hate anymore. And hating on our own brothers and sisters, come on, guys. Seriously? It's ridiculous. It really is. You know, as a follower of Jesus, I refuse to hate. You can hate me if you want. That's your choice. But it really destroys you and messes with your brain. I know, because I went around angry and bitter for the longest time. I still get angry sometimes. But I choose to focus, and I choose to say, you know what, I'm not going to let it take over. That's what it does. It takes over. You know, I mentioned that the videos about Joel Osteen and also Paul Washer and a lot of other pastors. And I even saw a lot of videos talking about how Hillsong are not Christian. Have you listened to their music? It's beautiful. It's glorious. I mean, I love metal, yes, but I love worship music. And, you know, I listen to their stuff, and I feel a connection to God, and it's wonderful and beautiful. And what are you doing? I just don't understand. I really don't. You know, and I would do some internal searching, and you know, maybe you know something that I don't, but I doubt it. Because do you really know their hearts? And it's really easy to take something out of context. Let's remember that too when you see these videos. Do your own research. And I see a lot of them have a lot of hits and a lot of stuff, so I guess, you know, great, wonderful, you've got a lot of followers or whatever, but I, for one, will not partake in that. In fact, I blocked or deleted most of those that wound up on my YouTube feed, or was channel suggestions, I guess is what they call them. You know, I'm not going to debate with you guys about judgment or judging other people because you don't know their heart. You know, and like I said, I have a lot to do. I'd rather focus on loving people and focusing on showing people how we are different. You know, the bottom line is we're all human. God created every single one of us. I'm not better than you, and you're not better than me. We are the same. Now, I'm obviously not talking about, you know, different cultural things, because obviously there's different cultures. I'm glad there's different cultures. You know, I love tasting different food and meeting different people and finding out about where they come from, and it's fascinating and wonderful, and I think it's great that we're different in that way. But when it comes down to it, we are all human beings, and we all bleed. And hate changes nothing. Hate changes absolutely nothing. Now, before I wrap up, I want to read 1 Corinthians 13, and I want you to think about this. Because this is straight, you know, and I'm mostly talking to those who are believers. But if you're not, this is a great scripture anyway. It's very inspiring. It's one of my favorites. And it's 1 Corinthians 13, and this is from the Amplified Bible. It says, "If I speak with tongues of men and of angels, but have not love for others growing out of God's love for me, then I have become only a noisy," sorry, got hate on the brain, "then I have become only a noisy gong or clanging cymbal, just an annoying distraction." So if I have tongues of men and angels, but I don't have love, then I'm just making a whole lot of noise. And if I have the gift of prophecy and speak a new message from God to the people, and understand all mysteries and possess all knowledge, and I have all sufficient faith so that I can remove mountains, but do not have love, reaching out to others, I am nothing. If I give all my possessions to feed the poor, and if I surrender my body to be burned, but do not have love, it does me no good at all. Love endures with patience and serenity. Love is kind and thoughtful, is not jealous or envious. Love does not brag and is not proud or arrogant. It is not rude. Don't be rude. It is not self-seeking. It is not provoked, nor overly sensitive and easily angered. Uh-oh. Now it's meddling. It does not take into account a wrong endured. It does not rejoice at injustice, but rejoices with the truth when right and truth prevail. Love bears all things, regardless of what comes, believes all things, looking for the best in each one, hopes all things, remaining steadfast during difficult times, endures all things without weakening. Love never fails, it never fades nor ends. But as for prophecies, they will pass away. As for tongues, they will cease. As for the gift of special knowledge, it will pass away. For we know in part, and we prophesy in part. For our knowledge is fragmentary and incomplete. But that which is complete and perfect comes, and that which is incomplete and partial will pass away. So for that which is complete and perfect, God's love, when that comes, it'll stay. It'll remain steadfast. But that which is incomplete and partial will pass away. When I was a child, I talked like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I did away with the childish things. For now, in this time of imperfection, we see in a mirror dimly, a blurred reflection, a riddle, an enigma. We don't understand everything. But then, when the time of perfection comes, we will see reality, face to face. Now I know in part, just fragments, we just know a little bit. Even the smartest person doesn't know everything. But then I will know fully, just as I have been fully known by God. And now there remains faith, abiding trust in God and His promises, hope, confident expectation of eternal salvation, love, unselfish love for others growing out of God's love for me, agape. These three, the choicest graces, but the greatest of these of faith, hope, and love is love. So my friends, I'm not, I want to make it clear, I'm not trying to judge anyone, and if you looked at this person and you said they're a false prophet, shame on you, and may lightning come. No. I have concern. I have concern when, as Christians, we waste our time judging other people. Where I work, I'm surrounded by a lot of people that don't agree with everything that I stand for, that stand for different things and have different views politically and otherwise. And we get along great. Why? Because they're good people. I love them. They're wonderful people. We're just different. And it's opened up dialogue for me able to talk to them about what I believe. And it's done in a respectful way. Because there's no hate behind it. So I implore you, we need to be different. We have to be different. This world needs us to be different. And if you heard this and you're like, but you don't understand, Rob, I understand perfectly. I do. I don't know everything that you've been through, but I know what I've read, and I know what I believe. And I know that hate is changing nothing. It's changing nothing. Trust me on this one. If you don't believe me, watch the news for a while. Then go pray, or go eat something delicious, or something to help you calm, because it'll drive you crazy. So thank you guys for allowing me to rant, to speak on what is on my heart. Know that I love you guys. I really do. And I hope you have a fantastic, blessed week. Peace. And I really mean peace.